And welcome back, everybody, to episode 87 of the Paws Up podcast. I am Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral, and a very special guest of the show, a friend of the show. This is now going to be his second time on the show. You all
I'm a regular
as Papa Panther. It's Eddie Hondal. He's been here for the Sun Blazers, Golden Panthers, now the Panthers. Eddie, how you doing?
Good evening, my Panther brethren. Great to be on the show again. I think you guys do a phenomenal job. I love being on the show. I love when you have all the different athletes from different teams and coaches, and I get great insight sometimes from athletes and coaches that you don't see as much on the spotlight as you may see with, let's say, football, men's basketball, baseball, etc.
Right.
I'm glad you guys cover every aspect of Panther Nation athletics, because I think it's important that we see the totality of our athletic department.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I think we've tried to be on a hot streak with that, with golf and volleyball as of late, which was fun. So let's get right into it. Papa Panther. August 18th, 2024 was episode 56. The last time you were on the show. A lot's happened since then for everybody. For you specifically, What have you been up to, both inside and outside of FIU, and how have you been preparing mentally and physically for the upcoming football season?
I'm actually quite excited. I obviously I've gotten to know all the coaches we've ever had in football, and always tough to see a coach leave. And I thought Mike McIntyre was a good man. And by the way, I will say this: he left the program in much better shape than when he inherited. Yeah. I remember when he came in, he literally had like 4 or 5 linemen on the roster, and he was able to leave a program when the job was changed. Where look at all the players that are on our team that went to P4 schools. Yeah. At the same time, our new coaching staff had at least something to work with. Where before, when he came in, so I give credit to Coach McIntyre for what he left behind. I think we've hired an exceptional coach in Coach Simmons. I think he's built a tremendous staff. When you look at keeping Coach DeWitt, bringing in Frank Ponce, et cetera, Edwin Pata, bringing in all these other great coaches that are not just great coaches, great recruiters, and I think great builders of men. And I think they'll do a great job. And I'm super excited for the upcoming season. Super excited to go to Happy Valley and see it shock the world. I got to tell you, as you know, you might know, my youngest son is a Penn State grad. So I've gone to many. I've gone, I'd say, close to 10 games at Happy Valley. I've been there many, many times. And obviously, outside of them playing FIU, I've actually rooted for Penn State because my son was there. I've already told all my Penn State friends that we pull off the upset, I'm rushing the field. I don't care if I'm by myself, but I already I've got my flag ready, and I'll rush the field with a flag and everything. And if I can take that guy on the field with me, I'll take my FIU American flag and stuff. So I'll take everything.
Oh my God, you're getting me excited already. I wish college football started next week.
I know.
Tomorrow.
All right. Well, you've seen a lot of FIU athletics. There's been some good and some bad here this past year. As far as the state of FIU athletics goes at this current moment, where would you say it is right now compared to years and maybe even decades past?
Well, again, look at the totality of the university. Obviously, we're still a young program. In retrospect to what even many teams in our own conference, right? So I look at it in 2 segments. I first look at the academic side of the university, what FIU has done academically, in establishing itself as a top level public university in the country, the law school, everything else we've done academically for such a young institution. We've become the benchmark for other young institutions and surpassed many universities much, much older than us, right? You want to see that emulated in athletics. It hasn't transpired as of yet. I think we're making the right moves in getting the right people involved, getting more alumni engaged, hopefully getting more money given, because nowadays with everything happening with NIL, transfer portal, and all the change in athletics, you need alumni to step up, and you need alumni to maybe give a little bit more than what they're used to giving, because that is what makes the difference. And I hate to say it comes down to money, but when you're seeing what's happening around the country, it's important. It's an important part because that's how you keep your players. And right now it is a wild west when it comes to the NIL. I don't know what guardrails will eventually have to be put in place. I think something needs to happen because it has changed the landscape of athletics. It has made it harder, especially for G5 schools and their coaches to have to coach in this environment. But I think we got, especially with Coach Simmons and what I think he's doing, I think he could be that one that changes. And I'll tell you one thing. Let's say we have a magical season in football. You'll see how suddenly, because Miami, is that way. When you're winning, everyone wants to be part of your party, right? Fact. You saw it with the Heat. You've seen it with every team. With the Marlins, you've seen it with everyone, even UCG when they were relevant. You know, when they won, all their alums came back and the whole city got behind them. And that's great. I mean, that's the team that was winning at the time. If FIU can emulate that and do that as well, I think you would see a lot of alumni come out of the woodwork and suddenly be calling me, "Hey, Eddie, can I get tickets? Do you have any extra tickets for the FIU football game?" And you'll start seeing scalpers and stuff like that when you know you've arrived. And that's what I'm hoping this crop of coaches that we have now lead us to eventually, the promised land of winning, and winning will translate to support.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, just early on, Willie has been awesome. The staff is awesome. So
incredible,
definitely
incredible.
I would say an upgrade over what we the last staff, but definitely guys who know, like these guys are legit. I mean, you have Pada who's been around a while, former FIU guy too. Paws, who we've spoken about before, and then you have Willie, who's been in the Sun Belt. He played FIU before. He knows the conference more or less. So it's a good staff. But Eddie, I want to talk about Scott Carr. You've known him since he was hired, and you've had a lot of conversations with him, I'm sure. Just how do you think he's doing so far? How do you think he's turned this ship around? And what suggestions have you given Mr. Scott Carr so far, Eddie?
Well, obviously, again, being that you said it when you opened up the show, I'm the old guy that goes all the way back to Sunblazer days. And I did. I remember my first 2 years at FIU, we were the Sunblazers. We didn't become back then the Golden Panthers till my junior year. So I've been here long enough to know that when it comes to the hire of Scott Carr, he's been a great addition, and he's a great athletic director. Has taken over the lead for FIU. And obviously, again, the landscape of college athletics is much different than what was here before for any other AD that had to dealt with in the past. And I think he's done an admirable job and done a great job in the hires and whatnot. But now, obviously, as time goes on and he's put his people in place, now you're hoping it leads to an end result of winning. And that's what makes the big difference. At the end of the day, all these coaches may be great and all that stuff, but they got to win. And that's what we hope. And that's why we're excited with Coach Simmons, because I think the people are in place and the leadership is in place with Scott Carr to take us to the next level. There's no reason we can't become, when you look at a short-term benchmark, a UCF type school. There's no reason. Yeah. We're similar to them in many respects. We used to be in the same I'm old enough to know before we had football, back in the TAC days, the Trans-America Athletic Conference, that UCF was in the conference we used to beat them up in basketball. So I remember those days fondly. So we need to get back in that direction and start becoming, emulate a lot of what UCF has done in the past. And Scott Carr was there. Scott Carr was part of that building at UCF, so he knows what he can bring into this situation and make it happen.
Venturing really quickly outside of FIU Athletics, you were a part of the Alumni Association. You were the president of the Alumni Association at one point. Just seeing where it is today, and just how cool is that for you? Seeing how much it's grown and how much. I mean, that is huge, not just for the university, but the athletics, part of it as well.
Right. It's huge because you see the progression over time. We've spoken now, we're hoping that we just talked about Scott Carr bringing his people in place, and you're going to start seeing winning and that type of stuff. I mean, I've seen it on the other front when it comes to alumni. I mean, when I go to board meetings, I'm invited back to go see the alumni board and whatnot, and I see how that board is developed to a mature, big time board. It just fills me up with pride because I've seen the development of that board, and with that, you will see that happen with athletics as well. And I think you're going to start seeing strides made in all the major sports. We see it in the other sports that may not get the same attention. I keep on telling people, it's funny and it's true, when it comes to swimming and diving, FIU swimming and diving is the Bama of our sport. They are the most dominant program. And it doesn't matter, by the way, whether they were in Conference USA. Remember, men's soccer and swimming and diving are in the American Conference. They didn't skip a beat. They went into that conference and dominated those two sports, dominated that conference as well. So when you see that, now we need the big time sports to follow suit with what you're seeing with the other sports.
Yeah. For those unaware, maybe for the younglings out there, the Trans-American Athletic Conference is now known today as the Atlantic Sun.
The Atlantic Sun.
So that's where Conference USA got Kennesaw and some other teams. Anyway, just thought I'd point that out. All right. Let's get back on track here talking about FIU. But, it's something specific that we surprisingly didn't ask you about during the last episode, which was Vice. The Vice identity has become a staple alternate look for the Panthers these past few years. I love it.
Yep.
Talk about
I see you wearing the jersey.
I love this jersey so much.
Yeah.
Talk about, was something like that ever brought up to you when you were working for FIU as an executive director, and, what your initial reaction was when you found out that Vice was happening?
Oh my God. So imagine, again, I'm dating myself, but I go back to when Miami Vice was an actual thing. I was a student here. So I remember all the colors, the color arrangements back then. To see us make that statement, by the way, not just the Vice. I like the fact that I would say FIU and the Miami Dolphins, to an extent, have dominated the 305 branding of our products. I like that as well, because I think that's something we can call our own. And I love the Vice look. I think it's great. I think I also do like, as a matter of fact, my youngest son says he likes more the Sunblazer, the uniqueness of the Sunblazer logo, that he loves the fact that we bring it back for one game a year. So that they're unique aspects of what we're doing branding wise of FIU, which I think are very, very good. Vice, the Vice stuff across all the sports, excellent. The Sunblazer use against the sports, excellent. And the 305 and owning that 305, because we truly are the 305 when it comes to college sports, not the folks down in Coral Gables, is us. So I like the fact that we're doing that and owning those brands.
Well, when like you said, when the show was still going on and Miami Vice was all over the air, did you or anyone around you come up with the idea of what if we incorporated that into a look? Never.
Wow.
Never. By the way, it'd be good to know, and I know there's a clip of it. You know that in the middle of Miami Vice, when it was the hottest show in the U.S., they filmed an episode at FIU when we were the Sunblazers, and Son of a Blazer, which was the name of our mascot back then, comes out on the show and everything. And there were Sunblazers, and they were wearing the jersey and everything. So it was a kind of a sign of things to come, having Miami Vice, the show, film an episode at FIU, and years later, FIU incorporate the colors of that show into the uniforms for special uniforms.
Paying homage, if you will. Even the trailers and whatnot like to do that with the guys wearing, the jackets, the shades, the sound. All right, so let's get into 3 big things that happened with FIU football since, last time you were on the show. The first thing was the naming brand with Pitbull Stadium. Now, yes. I don't know how many connections you have, Eddie, but I am interested to know when and where you found out that this was going to happen and your thoughts.
I had been hearing there was a big announcement coming a couple of weeks before the announcement was made. Okay. I had also heard, I knew that Pitbull's daughter was a FIU graduate. She was involved with student involvement in student events and whatnot. She loved the university, and I think he was really appreciative of what we had been able to help his daughter with. And he had always taken a liking to us, right? So I knew about things like that, and I thought it was going to be with him. So when I kind of heard maybe a week before it finally became official that this is going down. And I think he is, again, we go back to what we were talking a few minutes earlier, owning the brand of 305. What better way to do that than get Mr. 305 and Mr. Worldwide, right? Yeah. And I think the exposure we got with that was incredible. Unfortunately, had we parlayed that last season with wins, and if you look at all those close losses that we had last year into wins, it would have kind of been a great season with the Pitbull Stadium being named the Bull Stadium, and then us winning, maybe going to a bowl game. It would have maybe launched us into, again, even more exposure than just the naming itself gave. But hopefully this year's a new year. Fall coming up. Look forward to seeing a Pitbull at some of our games. I know this year he was touring nationwide. I know for a fact he made a strong effort to try to get to the Indiana game when I traveled to the Indiana game last year. He was performing in Indianapolis the night of the game, but he wasn't there. He couldn't get to the stadium, but he wanted to make it to watch the game. So I know he wants to follow us. I know, and man, it would make it so much easier to get his impact if we're winning. It would just make such a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez, I think I have you beat when I found out. I may have found out months prior, but
We
Jake,
found out.
Like you did
I knew things were. I knew something big was coming. I just didn't know it was him right away.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I can't mention who it was, but they did have. It wasn't the works with someone else, and that fell through like years back, though. But like,
right.
Yeah, but then it ended up being Pitbull, which I think is honestly even better than who it would have been. So he's awesome.
I agree.
So.
I agree. And I think his brand is great, and everywhere he goes, he's known. And by the way, quick story. So last year, I was on a business trip in Utah, of all places, and I was wearing an FIU polo. So I was in Deer Park, Utah, Deer Valley. Park City, Utah, and I'm wearing a polo shirt, FIU polo shirt, as you would expect whenever I travel. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing FIU now, but I'm wearing a polo shirt at the time. And I walk into the van that's taking our group to dinner, and I sit in the van, and the kid turns around, the guy that's driving the van, in the middle of the mountain in Utah. He looks at me, he goes, FIU Pitbull Stadium. We all like, what? He goes, yeah, I saw it on ESPN, FIU Pitbull Stadium. He knew right away. In the mountains of Utah, the guy knew who we were because of Pitbull.
That's so sick. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but we do have to talk about it. The last time you were here, Mike McIntyre was the head coach of FIU football. No longer the case. Now it's Willie Simmons. Talk about Coach Mack a little bit. You mentioned it. I mean, he left this program in such a better place than it was originally. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, winning speaks and winning talks. And unfortunately,
winning is everything, man. You can be the nice guy in the world, but you got to win. Mm-hmm. You got to win. That's why you get hired for. You got to win, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. A lot of close games, but you got to win. You got to win, and it happens in all the sports. I mean, you have to win. I'm sorry. It just gets beyond just being good, being a good person. We've had plenty of good people who are coaches, but you got to win. You got to win.
Yeah, exactly. So just what were your thoughts on the firing? Obviously, 3 straight 4-8 seasons, really tough. For the most part, good recruiting. Obviously, you bring in someone like Kiwan, Devontae Lyons. You were unfortunately not able to retain the talent, and that's not entirely his fault. I mean, at the end of the day, it happens when you just want to go to a different level. But you mentioned it. So many close games. I think 5 games that they won score.
Yeah.
3 of those around.
Well,
and you a bowl game.
But by the way, it's a combination of things. So they had all these close games against Liberty and Jack State. You lose those 2 games close, and I'm going, all right, well, you know what? Those are the 2 top teams in the conference. But then you can't lose to what was a homecoming game loss against an FCS school. You can't lose FCS schools. Monmouth. You can't lose that game. You can't. You got to win the ones that are the low-hanging fruit I don't want to call anyone a low-hanging fruit because upsets do happen, but you can't lose that game. So the games that you got to win, you got to win. You can't lose Kennesaw State when it was their first year and you had the game, you were dominating the game. You can't lose those games. And that makes a difference in the decision that they had to make, unfortunately, because, again, like I say, he left us in a better situation. And I'm hoping now that those close games, first of all, aren't close games that we dominate. You want to see us put a stamp of dominance in our games, you know? And that's what we want to see. Yeah. You know, if other teams can come out of nowhere and have breakout seasons, why can't we? Why can't we have a breakout? Why can't we go 10-2 when we were 4-8 the year before? You know, let's do it. Let's do it.
What was the moment in the season where you realized that there needed to be a change?
Man, it's tough because I was very supportive throughout. I'm trying to look back and Kennesaw State broke me, I think, because we had that game won. It was just frustrating. I mean, it was just one of those things that when we lost that game, I mean, I think I was watching with Dave. You know, it's my son David, Papa Panther Jr. We're watching that game together. I had to walk away. I was so pissed, you know, because I mean, we're fans. You know, we feel these games. You know, you suffer these games. You enjoy the wins. I mean, I was ecstatic when we blew the doors off Central Michigan after coming out after a game like Indiana where we weren't horrible and being what Indiana became, and you realize, hey, man, we can be pretty good. And then you start losing a game that you shouldn't have lost. And that's when I started losing hope. And then I think Kennesaw State broke me. That was the difference to me last year.
Really? Kennesaw? The one that broke me was the Jacksonville State one. I was there. That was the first time I was ever traveling with the team. I was like, damn, like, let's hope.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to it with low expectations. Like, it was Jacksonville State. They ended up winning the championship. That game destroyed me. I mean, I was destroyed after that. And then Kennesaw was just like, at that point, like, you hope they win, so you get that fifth win. But, like, or the fourth win to then beat Middle Tennessee. It was just like, oh, geez, man.
No, you're right.
It was really tough, but
by the way, it's always nice to beat Middle Tennessee State because they seem to have our number, and they pounded us in the past. I cannot wait to have a blowout win against Western Kentucky because I've never forgotten what they did to us. I think McIntyre's first year when it was like 73-0. I've never forgotten that game, and I want to pay back so bad. I want to win a game against them 9-2. I mean, and the 2 because we're giving them a safety at the end of the game. So I mean, I want to beat them so bad. You have no, and obviously FAU, we owe them several games. Yes. We get a chance to do it in our place next year, next fall. So I'm looking for some revenge games this year.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
When did I get broken? It was the Monmouth game, honestly. You just can't lose to an FCS team. You just can't.
You can't.
Like,
you can't.
They literally got like top 25 votes after that game. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
incredible. My God.
I mean, that's a memory. Monmouth is
and by the way, the way we lost, Eric Rivers fumbling on the 1-inch line to win the game.
That was terrible.
I mean, I was
like standing right there because I was like, all right, game's about to end. Like, they're going to make this comeback, whatever. And then he fumbles like, are you kidding me, man? That was,
No, my God. Incredible.
Yeah, let's talk about Willie Simmons. I mean.
By the way, Eric Rivers, we talk about Eric Rivers was a special player to have. He was something nice that, you know, a guy that it would have been great to have him one more year under Willie Simmons' tutelage and have him see what more he could have done. I think had he stayed, I mean, we all make decisions, and I'm sure there was money involved with Georgia Tech, I'm sure. But had he stayed with another year under his belt, and I think a better offensive line and a better everything that's, I think, happening, he really could have marked himself for a possible draft pick next year in the NFL. So because they'll find you. The NFL will find you. And I always hark back to T.Y. Hilton and Jonathan Cyprian and Jonnu Smith. And I look at guys like that played their career here and they were found. They will find you. If you're good and you're an FBS team, they will find you. All our games are on TV now. They will find you. So it's sometimes it behooves them to stay where they've been most successful sometimes. But again, everyone makes a decision. Everyone makes a call. I'm sure there was money involved. Sometimes the money's too great to give up. Everyone has a price. So, and that's what happens. But I think I'm hoping that with our coaching staff and their great evaluation of talent, that our receiver room is reloaded, hopefully this year. You guys will probably know at this point. I haven't been out to practice yet. I'm looking forward to going out to practice, but I may go this Saturday. They have an open session practice this Saturday. I'll check the schedule, but I may go check it out. But how are they looking so far? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, the receivers is just like you have your two guys and Juju Lewis and then the Hawaii transfer Alex Perry, who your experienced guys. Juju's coming off an injury; he's still yet to play. And then after that, you have a bucket of young, explosive receivers that unfortunately just haven't seen any offensive snaps. So it's worrisome. Honestly, it's worrisome. I'm not going to say it's in the worst shape that the wide receiver room has been, because I'm sure it's been worse. But last year you had your guys. You had your Dean Patterson, your Eric Rivers. Mm-hmm. You thought Desmond Washington, unfortunately, didn't turn out to much, but you thought you would have something there. This time around, I'm a little more worried with the receiver room. I'm loving the running backs, the transfer.
AJ Allen, running back room looks,
Lions.
Oh my God, it looks great. It looks great.
It looks scary. Yeah.
And by the way, and I think skilled players are going to be easier to be found, especially in South Florida for FIU. Yeah. So hopefully there are a couple of diamonds in the rough in that, like you said, those young explosive receivers, Kevin, that you've seen. Hopefully you have a breakout from a couple of them. And it makes those veterans even be more effective, because you're watching for these young bucks who are fast as heck, and you got to keep an eye on them. And the experienced receiver, takes advantage of them being experienced when running routes and whatnot. So let's hope that we see some young development of these players. We hope to see it.
Yep. Alrighty, let's talk about the coaching hire, because this is a quick process for the most part. In less than a week, FIU had made their choice, but it looked like they really were thorough. A lot of guys were interviewed. A lot of guys who had interviewed the first time interviewed once again. Ponce, Harris, Willie Simmons, and they ended up going with Willie Simmons. Mm-hmm. When did you find out Willie Simmons was going to be the guy? And what was your, who did you originally want? What did you think? And just how do you think everything?
Well, I mean, when all the stuff started happening, the three names that I had been saying, well, obviously I was talking about Ponce, Harris, and Simmons. Those are the three names that I felt could be effective right off the bat, right? Because I think you needed someone that knew South Florida. Those three guys know South Florida. I think you needed someone that had a keen insight on recruiting South Florida. I think the three of them had keen insight in recruiting South Florida. The fact that we got Simmons to lead the charge, ecstatic. Then he was able to bring Ponce to help him build this special thing that we're building, was, I think, even icing on the cake. And I think we're going to surprise people this year. I don't know what so far the college football predictors, all those big magazines that come out in the fall, Ancion and all those other fat magazines that I buy that follow the whole prediction of the college football, what they have was in store for us in Conference USA. But I think we're going to surprise people this year. I think we're going to be better than expected.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this.
And I think it has lots to do with the leadership.
But it's such, and we'll talk about it in a bit with the schedule, but it's a wide open conference. Liberty is not going to be the
wide open conference
the last 2 years. Sam Houston lost a lot of their team. Jacksonville State, same case. You're bringing in two newcomers. We'll see how they perform. We'll see how it goes. I agree with you. I do think we'll surprise some people just given the talent, because even though the offense is going to be completely different, the defense is a lot of new returners. You have a Keegan Davis. You're going to have Demetrius Hill coming back. Your linebacker course will be a little different, but in the trenches, you're looking pretty similar there. So it's a lot of those guys who are returners who are maybe on, a second string or a third string that now you're going to have to step up and be that first string. But, you're keeping your defensive coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see how it'll all play out. And they did a great job in the transfer portal bringing in guys on the defense.
I agree. I totally agree.
Looks like, yep.
Yeah. I want to be. I go back to my dream scenario that that you shocked the world by beating Penn State. So even to make my son not feel as bad, because it's funny. My son, the Penn State grad, obviously he grew up. He grew up an FIU fan and he loved FIU. As a matter of fact, story is he was in a fraternity in Penn State, and when Penn State wasn't playing their game, his whole fraternity house. Because remember, you can always find FIU games in some either ESPN Plus, whatever, right? So they would all watch at the fraternity. They would watch the FIU games because when let's say Penn State wasn't playing, because my son grew up as a fan. So my son I told my son, well, I want Penn State to go for the national championship. I go, yeah, but look, Notre Dame last year lost to Northern Illinois. I think was it Northern Illinois at the beginning of the season, and they still ended up in the championship game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if we beat Penn State, all Penn State has to do is beat everyone else, including Ohio State, Michigan, whoever else they have to play. They just got to show up and beat all those teams, and that way FIU could make his mark. And my son even said, if FIU were to pull off the miracle, I would not be horribly upset. I would not. Like the other Penn State Nittany Lion Nation would be on the floor, depressed. Yeah. My son would not be that upset because he also is an FIU fan. So he knows how much that would mean to the elevation of a program that he's been there since day one. My son, David, you guys know David. David was 6 years old when we started football. Danny, my Penn State guy, was 4. They were at FIU's first football game. Their first tailgate, first everything. So they've been there since day one. So they love Danny. Danny goes to 3 or 4 games a year with me when he's down here. So he's all in. He just went to Penn State, but in this case, we're going to be. It will be a house divided. It will be a house divided that day. Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. If FIU were to beat them, they would be in the top 25. Right.
Oh my God. And then I would have to be on medication for a while after that happens. Eddie Hondal has to be medicated after they get ranked. So.
Oh my God, that'd be insane.
Well, save the dreaming for later, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, dreaming is free. Dreaming is free.
It is. But
exactly.
Back down to earth here for a sec.
Yeah.
Kevin, is it time for a news break?
Let's do it.
All right. Here's a look at Jake's news break, looking at all things FIU athletics and just FIU in general. So let's start off with FIU softball. You have pitcher Kennedy Bird has been named the Conference USA Pitcher of the Week, and for good reason. Plain and simple, she threw a no-hitter against Kennesaw State this past Sunday, the 4th ever FIU player to toss a solo 7-inning no-hit shutout, and the first to do it since 2001. Aside from that, Bird also threw a complete game in a 4-2 win over Kennesaw in the series opener. FIU softball returns to Felsberg Field on Friday for a 3-game series against New Mexico State. Next up is FIU football, as the Alumni Association is set to host a special breakfast with head coach Willie Simmons on Friday, March 28th at 8:30 a.m. from the Coral Gables Golf and Country Club. This breakfast will feature meet and greets with Coach Simmons, athletic director Scott Carr, and some other surprise guests during a panel discussion moderated by FIU alum Michael Biamonte, all while enjoying a breakfast buffet and mimosa bar. This opportunity is available to current Panther Club members or to those who join by the end of the day on Thursday, March 26th, along with a $25 admission that you can purchase over on Eventbrite. Lastly, Florida International University has been named one of the 18 champions of first-generation student success in 2025 by First Gen Forward, a nationwide initiative by the National Association for Student Personnel Administrators, which recognizes institutions for their services and programs dedicated to promoting the achievements of students who are among the first generation in their families to earn a bachelor's degree. According to Maurice Jones, the CEO of First Gen Forward, to be named a network champion is an honor and a testament to the work of FIU, evidence that it is a national leader in this area and a role model for the field for years to come. So there was your look at Newsbreak. Eddie, do I even need to ask? You're going to be at that breakfast.
Of course. I already bought tickets for my wife and myself. We'll both be there. By the way, back to softball. I think they're playing so inspired. First of all, aren't they like 20-8 now? Aren't they like 20-8? That's a record or something?
I think
and obviously diagnosis of the coach that they're playing for the coach who's hopefully winning the battle. Yes, 22-8. Look at that. And they're just playing such inspired ball. I follow all their games, and they've beaten Power 4 schools. They've beaten everyone they play. They're really an inspiration of what could happen when you play that type of inspired ball with a mission. They're playing with a mission, and I love it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Alrighty, so we are in the middle of spring practice now, as we've mentioned. Unfortunately, haven't gotten the same. We haven't been able to watch the full practice yet. I think that'll change on Saturday as they go over to Bunch Park, I believe is how you say it. So just talk about the team. We've spoken about it a little bit before. What are your expectations? I know you said they look a little bigger. We'll be able to get the full thing on April 5th at 3:30 at Pitbull Stadium. But from what you've seen so far on the outside looking in, what are your thoughts?
I've been impressed. I've been seeing the quality and again, I'm seeing what I'm seeing is clips and shorts that I'm seeing that are being posted because I haven't been to practice yet. But it seems that there's a lot of speed on the team, and as they've always said, speed kills, right? So if they're as fast and hopefully they're bigger, because we hope if they're bigger and they're fast, man, that really keeps you in a lot of games. And I think, remember, Coach Simmons has never lost. He's never had a losing season. He's a winner. He knows how to win. And he has surrounded himself with other people that know how to win. And I think that formula, if everything holds out well, I have this great feeling that we're going to surprise people. And again, I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm always going to be gung-ho FIU. I think I've always come into every season saying the same thing. I think we're going to surprise people, But I had this real gut feeling that we have. I think something special is going to happen in the fall. That's why I tell all my friends, hey, don't wait till we're on a winning streak and ask me for tickets. You're all professionals. You're all making nice money. Go buy your season tickets for FIU football yesterday. Yes. I'm sick and tired of waiting for the freebie. Open your wallet and buy some tickets. And when you start winning and it makes an easier trip to go to on Saturdays, do it. And even during CUSA Tuesday, Wednesday games that we'll have during October, do it. Just do it. Just don't wait till they start winning. Do it now. Be part of the ride and jump on the bandwagon right off the bat.
Talk about the schedule because it's certainly a schedule. I'll tell you that. It's one of the tougher ones in CUSA. You're going to start out with Bethune-Cookman. Then you go to Penn State. Right. You're going to have FAU at home. You have UConn.
Right.
And then after that, it's not going to get any easier. And I'm going to pull it up right here just to.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, if let's put it this way, realistically, if you're leaving UConn, and let's say you're 2-2, I'm pretty happy with that. That means to say let's say you hope you beat Bethune-Cookman and you get some revenge on FAU. Right, UConn's tough. They beat up on people last year. They were in a bowl game last year, correct?
Yeah, they didn't lose to a G5 team. They didn't lose to a single G5 team last year. All their losses came to power conference programs.
Right. It's funny. I wonder. Last time we played them up there. Why are we playing them up there again? Don't they have to? I wonder why they're not coming down here for a change.
I don't know. It may have been. I could check if there was a home and like 2 home games for us and then 2 home games for them. But
could be one of those.
Yeah. I know they've been here once. But we beat them on the road. We beat them up there last time. We played them.
And then in conference play, we look at it.
So let's be the first G5 team that beats them. Hopefully,
yeah. And then we begin conference play against Delaware. You have Western Kentucky at Western Kentucky, Kennesaw at home, which probably could be the Vice game just the way it lines up, at Missouri State, at Middle Tennessee. And actually, you may remember this last time FIU beat Middle Tennessee over there. Willie Simmons was on the Middle Tennessee coaching staff.
Yeah.
Frank Ponce, Edwin Potter were both on the FIU coaching staff. So that just tells you how long it's been that FIU beat Middle Tennessee at Lloyd Stadium. So and then it's a gauntlet finish. You have Liberty, Jacksonville State, and Sam Houston. So much easier there.
Now, Liberty, and Jacksonville State are at home, though. This year, right?
Yep.
I know Sam Houston's on the road, but we should have beaten Liberty last year in their place. We should have beaten them. We should have been. And by the way, you were at the game. We should have beaten Jacksonville State as well. Now we get them at home. Those are the games that if you're going to make a statement, you run that gauntlet. Run the gauntlet. And by the way, San Diego State would have beaten them too. If we were down to, remember, we had our third string quarterback in that game. So I think we can run the gauntlet. And again, that's why you have to have something special happen to create that energy and excitement in a town like Miami. You need it. You need to create that excitement where our games become an event. That's what you need to do. And winning helps become an event.
So what would be your way too early season prediction?
I would say there's 7-5 would be a sweet. 7-5 would be a sweet first year schedule. Record. 7-5 could put you in a bowl game. Possibly if you win that bowl game, you end up 8-5, which would be great. But 7-5 is something I can envision happening. Because I think there's several games that we should outright win. And then if you sneak up on a couple of people that you weren't supposed to be, we talk about Liberty and Jacksonville State, which I'm sure will be underdogs when we play them, even here at home. Those are the ones that you can sneak out, maybe even go 1-1 against those two teams. You either beat Liberty or beat Jacksonville State. You're making progress. You're progressing on creating that culture of winning, which needs to be a reality and a norm in FIU football. A culture of winning, of excellence.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well said. I picked 7-5, just for the record. Kevin, you went.
Oh, you did. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Great minds think alike. Yeah.
You know it, Papa Panther. So let's finally step away from football here for a sec. Talk a bit about baseball. Where specifically, you had the chance to do something last year. Throw out the first pitch of a baseball game. Talk about that opportunity
against UCG. Against UCG of all things. Okay.
The Hondal family to tonight's game. All right, Papa Panther, whenever you're ready, fire away. And Papa Panther delivers the first pitch. Once again, welcome home to the entire Hondal family. On behalf of everyone who FIU Athletics, we thank you for your.
That was a good pitch.
I tell you what. By the way, and I wasn't even warmed up. I was gonna throw a high heater.
Okay.
And by the way, I had told the people at UCG that if their mascot would have shown up, I would have beamed him. If he would have been close to home plate, I would have beamed the UCG mascot.
There we go.
So, how do you think baseball's doing so far? Conference play.
Listen, we've proven one thing for sure. This team, they can hit. They can hit. By the way, we talk about the football team looking bigger. Our baseball team looks a lot bigger. They look a lot bigger. Fred and West and all these guys, they look legit big. I think our starting pitching is decent. I think I worry more about some of the closing pitching that I've seen so far. Again, it's early in the season. Now we're starting conference play, but we've lost several games where we had a lead late in the game and we've given up runs. I mean, that one game we lost to Bucknell when you're winning 4-1 with only needing 3 outs to win the game and you end up losing 8-6. That one hurt, and that was due to pitching. It was just So I think if our starting pitching can continue doing what it's doing in our relief from middle on, maybe get a little stronger and improve on that. I think the hitting is there. I think we can hit a ton, and I think that's going to help us in a conference like Conference USA, which in baseball is very competitive. So we're hoping. Look, the FAU series that we lost 2-1. That second game I was watching at home when it was at FAU. We dominated that game in the beginning, and it wasn't until the end that we lost that game. We should have taken that second game, and that pitching means a lot, But the good thing is, man, we can hit. We can hit with the best of them, and I'm happy to see Coach Witten is building up this program to where I want to get to a point where we were back in the heyday when we were making regionals often. We made one super regional when we we won a regional, played against super regional against USC, if I'm not mistaken, after beating Notre Dame. I mean, come on. I mean, we've had some great success in the past. I'm old enough to remember there was one year, I think a year after the Canes had won their national championship. Back in the day, we used to play them 5-game series, 3 at Mark Light, 2 at FIU. And that year, we also happened to have a series against Florida State, and we had a single game match against Florida, right? We went up to Tallahassee and beat Florida State, a very good Florida State team, 2 out of 3. We beat Miami that year 3 out of 5. And the one game the Gators came to play against FIU, we beat them too. So we were the only team that back then they were called the Big Three. We were the only team in Florida that beat the Big Three all in the same season. So we've had teams that have been very special. And I think I want that to happen again for baseball, because there's plenty of talent down here to do it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, all right, Eddie, it's time to give some shout outs to Section 112. How's that group doing?
Section 112
season.
Every fandom needs to have a Section 112. These guys are fanatical. They're fun to hang out with. I have a lot of fun with my 112 troop, and a lot of banter back and forth. We hit each other hard. I will tell you that. I share chat rooms with them, but it's fun, man, and they care. That's the thing about the Section 112 guys. They care. They care about the program, and they're legit fans, and we need more of them. And if we need to be the tip of the spear of being the group of fans that care that much about the program, but with that attention, we bring in more people with us, then we're doing our work. We're doing our job.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, okay, Eddie, now let's get into some fun rapid fire questions here to start to close up shop. Oh, man. Who is the funniest member of Section 112?
Oh, my God. Chia cracks me up all the time. And again, we go hard at each other. We have a lot of fun. That's part of the fun. But I love him, and his brother are a blast. But Chia is definitely a one that cracks me up the most, even though they're all funny as hell.
Yeah.
Danny Dennis is a blast. They're all a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're dope. All righty, Eddie. What is your go-to, what is your ideal tailgate situation?
My ideal tailgate situation is obviously a lot of food, whether it be wings or anything but my go-to is to make sure you have a football around to be throwing it around, and make sure you have a lot of people, and that you can even trash talk if some opponent people walk by. Not too bad, but I'll throw some smack around, especially if we're playing a rival team. That's ideal for me.
Man, I can't wait for that. For
the Shula Bowl.
FAU, yeah, that's gonna be good.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So whenever you are on campus to do, whatever Eddie Hondal does on campus, where is the go-to spot to grab a bite to eat?
Well, first of all, when I go on campus, the first thing, much to my wife's demise, I always go to the bookstore first, because I always got to buy some swag. So I always stop there first.
Okay.
Before I go get a bite to eat, whether it be at what's the Cuban place? The Cuban, not Sergio's. Which one? No, Buteros for coffee, of course. But I'm saying not what's where the pastelito allá? Which one?
Sergio's.
Well, but the one in the Mark building, right by the Mark building, that has a Cuban. Vicky's. There you go. Yeah. So if I'm in a hurry, I'm stopping by Vicky's to get pastelito, maybe an empanada shot. But definitely going to serve the Butelo. But I'm always walking around, so I'm going to multiple places. If I need to place, I have to go sit down and eat something. Maybe I look at something for work. I'll go to Chili's so I can just sit somewhere. But I'm going to be jumping around.
Alrighty. Alrighty. What is your favorite FIU uniform? Football uniform, or you could even overall campus. Athletics uniform. I think that'll make it
Greatest
harder for you.
FIU uniform of all time.
My God. Here's the thing. When you're as old as I am, you've seen them all. To pick one, I got to tell you one thing. The Sunblazer uniform we wore last year were pretty sweet. Again, brought back memories. Remember, when we were the Sunblazers, we had no football. So that was a special uniform because the helmet, the story behind it. Obviously, the Vice ones are very cool. I think the Vice baseball uniforms were sweet, were very, very nice.
Together.
Huh? The what? The what?
We bought the hat together.
The cap.
Yes, we did. That's right. I think the baseball Vice are nice. You know what? I hope we would win some more with the Vice uniforms. I think we have a losing record when we wear Vice uniforms. I hope that changes. I don't know if we have a record, but I think we have a losing record with our Vice uniforms. So maybe, hopefully that changes around quick. But the uniforms are great. But the Sunblazer football one I liked a lot. I gotta say, if I think of one, right, I've seen them all. I think of that one.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. So speaking of Sunblazers. Okay. Let's say FIU says, you know what, the Panthers were cool, but we need to go back to something unique. We need to bring back Sunblazers full time. Yay or nay from you?
If that decision's made, I could live with it. I mean, I was a Sunblazer. I mean, again, not everyone can say that. I told you, my son would rather, my youngest son, the Penn Stater, would rather us go back to Sunblazer. His thing is, there are plenty of Panthers. There's no other Sunblazer. We'd be the only ones. Remember, there's no Sunblazer. Part of the Sunblazer lore was we were the only ones. There's even another school called Hurricane, Tulsa. I mean, they're different. There are Panthers everywhere. There are a bunch of other type of teams, but there's never been a Sunblazer. Would I accept it? I could live with it. But I've kind of gotten used to, having a predatory cat be my logo. So, and I like how it looks, so I like how we've done with the messaging with our Golden Panther or our Panther.
Yeah.
I could live with, I guess my answer is I could live with it, but I'm probably still siding with Panthers still.
Yeah. I mean, kicking Rory to the curb would be pretty heartbreaking, but I get it. The closest thing is like UAB. They're just the Blazers. You put in Sunblazers, and it's
right. Yeah, they're a Blaze. That's not to say that's not. Yeah. By the way, where the name Sunblazer came out of, right? The story why we were called Sunblazers, right?
Yeah, they wanted to counter the Hurricanes.
They wanted to counter a negative weather effect. Right, because the Canes is a negative weather force, and the early administrators at FIU said that we had to come up with something positive. We have a lot of sunshine down here, so they called us Sun Blazers, and it was a positive weather force. So
I knew that. I did
know that,
Eddie. So. Alrighty, Eddie, again, thanks for spending some time with us today, man.
No problem,
as we always do, as we start to wrap up shop, if you have anything you would like to say to the fans, to FIU, to just anybody in general, the floor is now yours.
Okay, the floor is mine. So, attention, Panther Nation. Something special is happening at FIU football. We have a development of a team that I think will surprise many, many people. Don't wait until we're already taking off and running. Buy your season tickets today. Inexpensive. If you want inexpensive stuff, get that. If you want the club seats, get that. But get them. Because I think you need to be part of seeing this take off. And I think takeoff was exactly going to happen starting against Bethune-Cookman. And from then on, we're going to surprise people this year. Take my word. Bank on it. We're going to surprise people this year. Get your tickets now.
Yes, get your tickets. Join the Panther Club. I'm just doing what Scott wants to do. Again, my God, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It's always fun to catch up with
double Paws Up. Double Paws Up.
What he's doing, Paws Up.
Paws Up.